We had some great trips this year in upstate New York. On this one, my friend Dave came up from South Carolina, and we had a blast. We caught big fish, smallmouth, salmon, lake trout, brown trout. It was just incredible. So now it's winter up in the Adirondacks. It's beautiful out. Snow's falling. So it was a good day to watch the videos from the trip. Just great memories. So take a look at the videos, and then at the end I'll show you how we did it with the three-way.
It's a big smallie, huh?
A big smallie. Jump clear out of the water.
On the three-way. Yeah, Lee, he's pulling drag, huh? I thought I saw him jump back there, but...
Yeah, he did. He jumped up. Powerful.
Oh, he's coming up. That's a big dude.
Wow.
That's at least a 5-pounder. It's at least a 5-pound smallie.
It's big.
Wow. It's at least a 5-pounder. That's way bigger than 5
that
pounds.
Might be a 6. Wow.
Wow, a giant, dude.
Giant.
That's a giant smallmouth.
Wow.
That's close to 8. That's close to 8.
That's big. It's giant.
That's got to be a 23, 24 inch fish.
Look at him right here. Sure.
Jim Mason with a giant smallie.
That's a pig.
That's definitely a big smallmouth.
Oh, I'm on kilograms. I'm like, what the heck? 6.5.
Wow.
6.5.
I got the hook out. Let me get a picture, Jim.
Yeah.
Got it.
6.5 pound smallmouth right there, folks. Nice one, huh? Look at this beast. Woo!
Thank you, Buck.
Thank you, Buck.
Fish. Good fish. It's probably a smallie. He's coming up.
All right, Dave.
Got a good fish on here on the spoon. Oh, it's a huge smallmouth. Huge smallmouth. Oh my God, that's the biggest one I've ever caught, dude.
Oh my God.
Holy shit, is that a big fish?
That is giant. Dude. Yeah! Oh my
Whoa.
God. That might be 7.
Yeah.
That might be 7, dude.
Woo. Hey, that's spoon plugging. Jim Mason running the boat.
How about that
Hell
fish?
yeah. And we just talked about that being a great spot right there, huh?
Look at the orange eye on that beauty.
That's the biggest smallmouth.
All right, why don't you get
I've
this
ever caught.
pliers, get this spoon out.
That's
We got to
for
get a weight on this
sure
monster.
the biggest smallmouth I've ever caught.
That's a big fish.
Yeah, he's huge. He choked that spoon.
Yeah, he did.
Hang on.
Here, well, first of all, before you do that, let me weigh him. I got to see what this thing is.
I don't think he's gonna go 7.
6'4".
Wow, just a little smaller. Still a toad.
It looks, it looks bigger than, oh my God. Woo! Hold
Bye
for the
bye,
camera.
baby.
Show
Bye,
everybody
baby.
what a monster looks like. All right.
All right, see you later, baby.
Yeah, man.
Mr. Jim, Dr. Jim of the three-way.
Well, as you heard in those videos, We caught those fish and many other big fish with the use of the three-way or the river rig. And it's a great way to present the lures in certain situations. You probably heard of the river rig or the three-way, and you may wonder, well, why do I need that? In certain situations, it's the absolute best way to present a lure. Number one situation being a river, especially with strong current. Now, in this particular case, the current was raging 5 to 6 miles an hour, really wailing through there. Now, you could hit your spot lock and try to cast upstream and work your lure down, but you would only be covering a small amount of area, and your lure speed would only be able to match the current speed. So with trolling with the three-way, this particular structure that we were fishing is very long. It's almost a mile long. And we could present our lures at the proper depth and speed all along the structure. Something you can't do in other ways. So that's why the river rig is important. So in this video, now I'm going to show you how we do the river rig and what we use and the products we use to get there. And it's really easy and very productive. First, I mentioned that it's snowing. It stopped snowing, but it's like a winter wonderland out here in the Adirondack Mountains. So I'm going to take you guys outside so you can see it. It's just beautiful. This is our view from the porch in the Adirondack Mountains. And it looks like a winter wonderland out there. It's the kind of snow that sticks to the trees and just makes everything beautiful. I mean, I miss fishing right now. Although, if the ice locks up a little better out there, we can go ice fishing. But this is absolutely beautiful. And there's our American flag out there. God bless America. Now, everything I'm going to go over here is due to the teachings of Buck Perry. If you don't know who Buck Perry is, please look him up. Your fishing life will change. Buck Perry is the father of structure fishing. Amazing man, amazing life. I can't stress it enough. While you're at it, on YouTube, look up Don Dixon's videos. Don Dixon was in the boat with Buck Perry for many years, and he's one of the best living fishermen today. Don Dixon actually took Buck's teachings and adapted and expanded the three-way into Buck's teachings, and most of what I'm going to show you here is due to that. Some things have changed, especially the advent of the trolling sinker, which makes it even better today. So we're just going to go over some of the basics, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great trick for you in certain situations, and later videos will get more in depth on it, but this is just be a good basic course to get going. Everything we're going to try to accomplish with the three-way is just to control two things. The two most important things in fishing: depth and speed. No matter what type of fancy lure you might have or new hot lure, unless you put it in front of that fish's nose at the right depth and going past at the right speed, you're not going to catch them. So all of this is designed to get the lures in front of the fish's nose at the right depth and speed. There's other things we could talk about, color and action and so on. Color, well, we like to joke around. Color's fun to joke around with your buddy in the boat. Fish love Wonder Bread. Don't know why. But have some Wonder Bread in the boat with you. So how do we control our depth and speed with the three-way? Well, the first thing is I've experimented with a bunch of different braids. You want to braid on a bait casting setup. Medium heavy will surprisingly handle all the weights I'm going to tell you about. Some of the weights you're going to maybe be surprised at. But a medium heavy bait casting rod The 13 fishing feet bait casting rod, excellent in the medium heavy, great rod for the 3-way. And how do we set it up? Well, we rig it up. The first thing is to store it, I cut a paper towel roll in half, and that'll give you 2 ways to store it. You take a sharp knife and you poke a hole, and then you put your snap, that's a number 2 snap, into the hole. You wrap it up tight and you stick it into the hole. So you might say, well, why are you doing that? Well, I tried a few times to put it into a Ziploc baggie, and let's just say that didn't end well. It got all tangled up and it was a mess. So, you know, before you go fishing, you don't want to do it out on the water. You have a bunch of these 3-ways set up, and I have it in a plastic box, and I can fit about 8 or 10 of these standing up like this. And when I need one, I grab it, unwrap it, and put it on the rod. So you're going to need 3 of these number 2 snaps. Not snap swivel, snaps. You don't want a swivel that's going to be spinning. You want a snap. And you need 3 of them. The first one will be from your braid down to the end. And then you'll have 2 more coming off the leaders of your 3-way. Now, the other improvement that's happened now is the T-turn type of 3-way. Thunder Mist Lure Company makes an excellent one, and that's what that looks like. All right, and this is an improvement from the old 3-way where you had like a triangle type, 3 different directions. This has the up and the down, and then the one to the lure goes straight out. So it's less twist, more of a direct line out to the lure. And like I said, Thunder Mist Lure Company makes a good one. As far as these snaps, which again, you're going to need 3 for each one, Buck's Baits has an excellent snap, and Bass Pro has an excellent snap, size 2. And then I mentioned these trolling sinkers. So these I get on eBay, but these are what they call high-speed trolling sinkers, and they're important because the old type of trolling sinkers, the bank sinkers, they have too much water resistance. They have the hockey puck ones, which are okay, although they tend to flap around a lot and can create twist, whereas these will not twist your line. They're very aerodynamic, and they go through the water beautifully. And this has just been a great addition to the 3-way. So how do you rig it up? So you come off of your 10-pound braid. Oh, let's talk about the braid for a minute. I've experimented with 10-pound, 15-pound, 20-pound braid. So obviously the thinner diameter of the braid, the better depth control you have, the less line you need out to get your depths. So in experimenting, the 10-pound braid never breaks, never. I've caught 43-pound straight bass on it, 25-pound salmon that hit like a freight train. It doesn't break. And if you do get snagged, at least by crazy force, you can break it off. Whereas the 15 and 20-pound braid, when it gets snagged, it's hard to break. 10-pound braid, after a lot of experiments, is the best way to go. So I start with a 10-pound braid to a snap. To that snap, one end goes to the 3-way, and then off of the 3-way, off of the 2 remaining things, we have 2 leaders. After, again, a lot of experimentation, the 1 leader with the sinker should be between 2.5 and 3 feet. I'll tell you why these lengths are important, but 2.5 to 3 feet for the sinker. At the end of that leader, you're going to tie that leader directly to this 3-way. And then at the end of the leader, you're going to put a snap. And on the end of the snap goes the weight. Now, the beautiful thing about the snap is you can just unhook it and put heavier weights on, lighter weights, depending on the situation. Very easy to control and change your weights. On the other end of the 3-way, the last remaining spot, you're going to have a leader for your lure, and that's going to be 6 feet long. Again, these are important. 2.5 feet, maybe 3 for the sinker, 6 feet for the lure. So, and then at the end of that, you're going to put, again, a number 2 snap, and then your lure, Wonder Bread, or whatever you're going to use. So the final thing as far as products, let's talk about the line. Again, I'm going to go to Buck's Baits, not because I'm affiliated with them or anything, because it's the best to do the job for the 3-way. So Buck's Baits sells no-bow monofilament. Now, no-bow is not your normal monofilament, believe me. This is similar to the stuff they make toothbrushes out of. Very, very little stretch, but a little bit. You want a little bit for the shock absorbing thing. That's one thing braid doesn't do, right? It doesn't give you that shock absorbing. So you want a little bit of stretch, but not too much. You still want to feel what's going on. Regular monofilament, forget it. It's like trolling with a sponge. You can't feel it. This is the perfect line. I use 17-pound test for the leader material off of the 3-way, and this is the best stuff. It's also very abrasion resistant, very tough stuff, and it is just the best stuff you can get. Again, at Buck's Baits, no bow, 17-pound test mono. So that's that. Okay, as far as the lures at the business end, I know everyone wants to talk about the lures. So we have 2 main lures we use for the 3-way, but there are other things you can do. Some guys will use a little jig head with a twister tail, and that works as well. But the best lures for this type of fishing I found are spoons and stick baits. So not just any spoons and not just any stick baits. The most important thing with a spoon is you want a thin, light, flutter weight, flutter style type of spoon. You don't want a heavy one that's going to sink when you drop the rod back. You want a light, thin spoon. So the best spoon I found is Michigan Stingray spoon. The size, the weight, everything. Michigan Stingray spoons are the best. I get them at Fat Nancy's Tackle in upstate New York. Great. They have every color known to man. And it's fun, again, experiment with the colors. Just make sure you have Wonder Bread, because fish love Wonder Bread. I don't know why. They also love green. Listen, it's probably my preference, not the fish's, but I love to have something with green and silver in it. But, you know, it's fun experimenting. The best thing to do when you have 2 guys in the boat, have one guy have one thing and the other guy have the other, a different color, and see what's going. It's fun. It's not the main thing, but it's a fun thing. The other thing is stick baits. So stick baits are great also. I use 3 kinds of stick baits, and it's important what stick bait you use. The most important thing on the stick bait is you want a depth that runs a depth of 5 feet or less. And this is why I went with the line lengths I talked about on the 3-way. You don't want the lure hitting the bottom. You're going to get snagged. You're going to pick up junk. You're going to pick up weeds off the bottom and leaves and things. You don't want it hitting the bottom. You want it inches away from the bottom. And with the line lengths that I went through and the right stick baits, you won't hit the bottom. You'll literally be inches above the bottom. So the 3 main ones I use, this is just the Bass Pro XTS Minnow, very inexpensive, the big size I use. Inexpensive, has great action, comes in all different colors, purple, and it just works, and it's inexpensive, so if you lose them, you don't feel too bad. The other one is the Rapala Shadow Wrap. I take off the middle hook. I just find that I don't need it, but that's up to you. But you want the one that's going to, again, be careful and make sure it runs 5 feet or less, okay? And this has a slightly different action. This is more of a aggressive action, aggressive wiggle, and this has more of a shuttle action. So maybe if the fish are a little less active, it might come into play. And the last stick bait I use is the Yozuri Hydro Minnow. And that's a big lure, big big, solid, heavy lure. You could cast it a mile. It's a great casting lure also. But even with the size of this lure, it still only goes down 5 feet or less, and that's what we need. This thing will just skim inches above the bottom, put it right in front of the fish's face, and won't pick up all the junk off the bottom. And that's exactly what you want. Now, the last thing we'll just briefly touch on is the speed, because again, two most important things, depth and speed. The speed can be controlled by the motor, or you can also control it with the rod. So if I'm going a certain speed and I drop the rod back, what does that do? The lure is going forward, and then all of a sudden it drops back, it abruptly stops. I can't tell you how many fish we catch when you drop the rod back. They just can't help it. They're probably following it, and then they drop it back. It stops right in front of their face, just reacts, and they grab it, bang, fish on. It's great. So you can control it with the rod also. The other thing is, what I want to talk to is trolling. This might be controversial. Trolling shouldn't be done with a rod holder. Some of you guys might frown on that. Listen, to me, the best part of fishing is the strike. I want to feel the strike. I don't want to see the rod holder, the rod go off in the rod holder. I want to feel that fish hit it. That is what I get out of fishing, and I hope a lot of you do too. And with this method, the best way to control it is, because you're constantly adjusting your line length, is in your hand, and the strikes are savage. So anyway, that's some of the stuff. And again, in other videos where we catch even bigger fish and so on, we're going to go over more in depth about the three-way, but I hope you got something out of it and enjoyed those big smallmouth. And let me tell you something, those two smallmouth, they were over 6 pounds each, and we caught them within a couple minutes of each other. We caught others as well, but we've caught big smallmouth, bigger than that. 7-pounders, and including one 8-pounder, which unfortunately I don't have on video. 8 pounds plus, using this way. So if you think you can't catch bass, largemouth, smallmouth bass, oh yes you can. And it's wonderful for all the trout species and salmon as well, but it's also great for bass. So again, hope you got something out of it and enjoyed the videos, and we're going to have lots more to show more things with the three-way.